America, welcome to the Business Pulse, a presentation of the Freedom Chamber. That's the Freedom Chamber, which you should be a member of if you aren't. It is fighting every day for you and your business, and it is worth supporting. So come to the Freedom Chamber, and thank you for watching our 40th episode of the Business Pulse. I'm Rod Martin. I'm founder and CEO of Martin Capital, proud member of the Freedom Chamber, and also head of rodmartin.org. That's rodmartin.org, where we do daily geopolitical analysis. Fox Business calls absolutely phenomenal. And I'm here with my friend Dean Owen, who is just fantastic. Tell us all about OwenCPA.com, Dean.
Yeah, it's tax season day, so a lot of people have still trying to get taxes done. If you haven't, give us a call, jump online, connect with my team. We'll file an extension for you for free. Just try to be a good service. That's OwenCPA.com. That's OwenCPA.com. Get that filed. This extension, a time to file, not to pay. So if you're going to owe and you haven't got it paid today, you're going to be in trouble. You're going to start paying penalties. We strongly suggest only making payments electronically. The IRS is a hot mess. And if you send them a check, you don't know what's going to happen to it. And I've seen unbelievable errors. I'm starting to see errors from them as bad or worse that I saw in COVID. So file everything electronically.
And Dean, tell us all about Matt.
Matt, he's here with us. He's from the Oil and Gas Association, Producers Association, deep into the oil industry and the gas industry, a wealth of knowledge. And with all the stuff that we got going on in the world with the stress and locking up oil and Iran and all of that, it's being disruptive, a lot of discussion. So we pull Matt in, one of our system experts who can give us guidance and tell us what to expect. So looking forward to it. Matt's been with us before. Great guy, great human being. Spent some time at the White House, helping make policy decisions and recommendations. So really well connected guy. So I'm looking forward to his commentary today.
Matt, you put out a video today on X that was just phenomenal. Tell us a little bit about it.
Thanks, Rod. Thanks, Dean. Look, it's real simple. Whenever we talk about bringing gas prices down and lowering gas prices long-term for all Americans, we have to look at the refinery system in America. See, years ago, whenever we started building these refineries, well, we imported most of our crude oil from foreign countries. And so the refineries that we have, especially those along the Gulf Coast, they're set up to process a heavier crude oil than what we produce here in the United States. Now, Rod, like I said in that video, and I feel like I'm just repeating the script verbatim. So thanks to oilfield innovation, the shale revolution in America brought us to being energy independent. Now, that started in the late 2008, 2009, really started hitting its stride in 2010. And now America is the world's #1 oil producer. The problem that we have is that the oil we produce doesn't quite match up with the refinery system we have. And so what President Trump and his administration, some of our partners across the country are doing right now is working to bring on more refining capacity so that we can process more of the crude oil we produce here. And that will lower gas prices for all Americans for years to come.
Well, we did bring in an incredible amount of heavier oil, of course, from Alberta and from Venezuela, and our refineries are optimized for that. We are essential to Venezuelan oil sales in reality. And so the new relationship the president is sort of forcibly establishing with Caracas will be good for the Venezuelan people, albeit not for the socialist regime. But you're exactly right. We need more refineries. We desperately need more refineries. We've had multiple administrations working against that. And despite that, we're the world's #1 exporter of refined product, which is just amazing.
Yes, sir. We have an opportunity to refine all of the world's products here. Maybe not all, but a huge chunk of it. And as we bring on more refining capacity that processes USA crude, we can establish energy dominance even further here at home and abroad.
Well, that's just fantastic. Dean, tell us about the finance implications of this.
Well, it's huge. We're still fighting a labor shortage. But it's starting to improve, but we still got to get a bunch more illegals out of the country, and that's going to crunch us some. But you think about these jobs, largely during the 20s up into the Obama administration, the jobs that were being created were low end, low skilled, low paid jobs. Now, you're not going to find a low end, low skilled, low paid worker in a refinery. Those are good paying jobs. There's six figures, the type a family can make a living on, live, buy a home, raise your kids, and enjoy the American dream. And the construction jobs that are going to go in to build that refinery in refining space, that is going to be huge. Not only that, what does it do for the tax base whenever you've got a gazillion more workers making six figures more? What does that do for the income tax base, the Social Security, the Medicare, everything along the way? Just how does that come alongside the $18 billion of new investment from foreign sources this president has secured? And people are working, and what you're going to hear in the news is a lot of lame duck garbage. I was listening to uh, the Federal Reserve reports from Atlanta this morning, and they're talking about 1.8, 1.2, or 1.8 to 2.0 growth for the next several years. That is nothing but weaponized garbage. They're also still saying that unemployment's 3.3. Truflation says it's 1.9. And a full point of that is oil. So when those oil prices do come back down, and we do get all that refining down, we're going to see those gas prices down below where they were under the first Trump administration. So from the economics of that for American families, we are in a tough period. Right now, the lower wage, lower income families are struggling. And we have to acknowledge that. And we hate it. We cry for them, we pray for them. But at the same time, very, very wise teacher once told us that the poor will always be among us. And it's been that way since the beginning of time, so probably will be. But the middle income and upper income families are not struggling. And half of this nation's wealth is tied up with boomers, and they're not going to stop spending. They're probably not going to increase their spending a whole lot either. But, so our economy is good. We've got to just, from Rob, what you and I have talked about incessantly for 6 months, or actually probably 8 months since the bill passed, we're headed towards a boom. In late second quarter is where we called it. We're starting to see it. These tax refunds are coming. That's huge. Now, these gas and oil workers that join Matt's association, they're not going to get any of that overtime, tax-free overtime and tips money. They're going to make too much. But there's a lot of people that are. We're seeing a fair number of those returns. Most returns we do in our office are higher end. So I've seen a lot of people who lost some of that $6,000 additional deduction because their incomes are too high. Some of them lost their tips and tip income, and some tax-free tips and tax-free overtime because they make too much. So go circle back to here's your living proof. This president is worried about the middle class and the lower income families. He's not doing stuff for the rich. That's just a filthy lie told by the far left to try and just create an emotional experience. So
Well, you're absolutely right. And look, we need to be able to have an upper middle class income in this country again without a gender studies degree. It's absolutely absurd what we have done educationally and from a jobs perspective. I've got an article up on rodmartin.org today about the increasing industrialization of Mexico because of the giant sucking sound of jobs out of China into the USMC trade bloc, and which is a real turnaround from where we were in Ross Perot's time. But the truth of the matter is, we used to have industrial jobs here, and we're starting to get them back, and that's wonderful. And that $18 trillion that you just mentioned, that everybody in the media wants to poo-hoo, that's like foreigners investing 2/3 of the entire size of the American economy into American production and jobs. It's just extraordinary. And those are going to be great jobs. But nowhere is that more true than in oil and gas. The truth is, the energy sector is key. There's almost no country with which we run a trade deficit that we couldn't erase that trade deficit through the export of oil, gas, and refined product. Matt, tell us about that and tell us how this war is affecting American producers.
Well, no, great point. Number one, this conflict has shown Americans that, hey, wait a minute, we need to process more of the crude we produce here. Like that point has hit home. Also, it shows people that we can be the world's biggest exporter exponentially. Like we can increase our exports still. Also, one of the greatest things that we're finding out over the last couple of years, and especially during this, is that a lot of people who don't have jobs are going, hey, wait a minute, they're about to boom again. Y'all were just talking about it. You know, under Biden and Harris, they demonized our industry, said they were going to transition away from our oil and gas jobs. And so a lot of people who were thinking about coming to the oil and gas industry, they said, hey, wait a minute. Now the federal government's saying we're going to transition away from these, so I'm not going to go work in that thing because it may not be here any longer. But fortunately, you know, under President Trump, of course, the stigma's kind of gone where people are going, hey, wait a minute. I want to work in the oil and gas industry. So that's coming back. You talked about broadening the tax base. That's huge because when people come to work, number one, a lot of people who have been on social services, then they are now supporting their own families. And so it reduces the tax burden on the state, on other taxpayers. That's just a double net positive right there. When we look at what our industry's doing right now, though, we're all still watching prices. There's still capital discipline because we want to produce more oil. We want to produce more natural gas, but we need the price to be where we can make a profit. And one of the biggest things trying to put those together is what's a good happy medium where the oil and gas industry makes money and American taxpayers, everybody who's going to go on driving trips this summer, you know, that they're not hurting in their pockets. And so we can find that middle ground and being able to produce more of our oil, process more of our oil, and keep gas prices lower here in America. That's the answer.
Well, I completely agree. And look, we have nearly tripled American production since 2008, which I just find miraculous. I grew up on a steady diet of peak oil and how we were all going to be completely out of oil and you could never have a gasoline car again by 1990.
Yeah.
You know, it's just absurd. And it was absurd when they were saying to us as elementary kids in the 70s. It was just stupid, but it's believable for people who don't understand how anything works. The truth is, we're capitalists,
Yes.
and we are for a reason. Because when prices go up, it creates more demand for more efficient solutions. And that's exactly what happened. We hit $147.50 oil in 2008, and the fracking boom just exploded
Yes.
in consequence of it. And so we've almost tripled U.S. production in the time since then. Matt, what do you think the odds are that we could get another 5 million barrels a day out of the U.S.?
Man, I loved your comment saying that. And I thought, man, we've got the reserves. And whenever we talk about proven reserves, a lot of people like to say, well, the oil field's dying. Well, it's running out. You know, we're running out of dinosaurs to recycle. You heard this back in the 70s. We heard it in the 80s. Of course, back then we heard about the climate crisis and the hole in the ozone layer. I quit using White Rain and Aquanet, and now look at my head. I blame them. Look, we've been hearing that the oil industry was dying off for years, and the only reason we don't have more proven reserves is that we haven't proven them yet. But we are bringing on new technology. We have the oil, we have the natural gas under our feet. We just need the investment and some more advances in technology to be able to reach that and to unlock it. So, what are the chances we could go to an extra 5? I say 100% chance. I just don't know how long.
What would you guess? What do you think?
How many years are you going to give me?
Yeah.
How many years? Give me a deadline. And then I'll give you a
I don't know,
percentage.
say 2035.
Absolutely.
That's incredible. And by the way, in case any of our viewers don't know this, I want to repeat, America now outproduces Russia and Saudi Arabia combined. It's just unbelievable. And you still see people on social media going on about how, well, we consume more than we produce. Well, that's true, but we've got Canada and now we've got Venezuela. So we can bring in a ton of cheap oil. We've got the refining capacity that's optimized to make use of it. That's just not a problem. And we can supply East Asia and Europe and reduce their dependency on the Middle East and Russia. our entire alliance structure becomes much, much more secure. And all that money that was going out of the country, we actually exported, if you can call it that, $700 billion in 2008 alone to our enemies for their oil. And now we've reversed that flow. That money's coming to America, and that's creating good jobs for the guys who work with you, Matt.
You know, you
Now, Dean, tell us what the effect of that is
yeah.
from
Well,
your point of view.
Well, I think obviously the financial stuff is huge. You know, you watch Alberta, watch it closely because Matt may end up having a whole bunch of American brothers and sisters up there to go help them connect their pipeline to Americas. But there's something even far, far larger going on. We are resetting the world system.
Yes.
When China and other countries that are enemies have to buy the oil from us, and we control the world's oil supply, and we sell it to them. But we're not going to hold back. We're not going to deny them oil, but they have to get it from us. They're not going to invade Taiwan.
Right.
When we see Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Jordan, all these Middle East countries coming alongside Israel and fighting with her, you know, I just noticed Pakistan is putting 130,000 troops in the Middle East to help to help against Iran. Uganda has put out a note that they are a Christian nation. They've aligned very closely with Israel, and if necessary, they will put boots into Iran. And there's something I think a twist that we need to consider. President said we may not put boots on the ground. He didn't say somebody else might not.
That's right.
So, you know, this president's smart enough
Oh yeah.
that if we're going to put boots on the ground, let the other countries that have some vested interest put boots on the ground and keep ours as trainers, as support staff, that sort of thing. He's serious about not losing American lives, but at the same time, get the job done, rearrange the world order, put America in a position where we will have America first worldwide dominance for decades to come. And with that, we will have peace.
Yes.
Well, that is the thing. Look, you've got a new $30 billion natural gas export deal from Israel to Egypt. I mean, who could have imagined such a thing? First of all, who could have imagined that Israel could have any natural gas to speak of? But all of a sudden they do. And they're exporting it to a country that used to go to war with them every 10 minutes. So, you know, how is Egypt ever going to attack Israel again without just blowing itself up? And as you see, Jordan and Egypt, and I really do believe after this week, we'll soon get to it being Lebanon as well, possibly Syria. If you start seeing that regional integration in terms of desalinated water and natural gas and oil, not to mention financial products and services, not to mention high technology stuff that Israel excels at, all of a sudden these guys are all friends. And there's just no getting around it. It's exactly what Donald Trump was talking about in Riyadh last year when he summarized the Trump doctrine as basically commerce, not chaos. You know, we can all get rich together, or we can give you the stick.
That's it.
Iran didn't want to get rich together, so they're getting the stick. Putin has been getting the stick because we're sending more and more of these wonderful new PRISM missiles over to the Ukrainians. The Ukrainians are taking out a bunch of Russian oil infrastructure. That's fantastic, because if you shut down their ability to pay for their war, they have to make peace. And getting to peace means we're going to go in, we're going to invest in Russia, and we're going to make that a better country for everybody and a good partner for us, and not a good partner for China. So, Matt, what are your thoughts on oil and gas development in Russia post-war, and also Ukraine?
Well, Russia's going to be very limited as far as investment dollars anyway, just because President Trump has put the pressure on them. And so China, of course, they and Russia started kind of strengthening their alliance on energy years ago, especially under Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. President Trump has put a big dent in that, and so they're not going to be able to develop their assets. So we're getting this where their economy is declining while ours is rising, and so it's just kind of a, again, double win. You said this, and I think it's so important that people understand this, is that President Trump is realigning the entire world, and what may have been the alliances of old are no longer the alliances. There may be still a few left, but President Trump and J.D. Vance have tried diplomacy. They have tried walking softly, and now some people, like you said, are getting the big stick.
Well, yes, very much so. And we're seeing who our friends are. Israel, this is the very first time we've ever fought side by side with Israel in a war. We've supported them before, we've supplied them before. This is the first time we're doing major combat operations together. They're amazing. I mean, they're working with us just hand in
Yeah.
glove. You're seeing tremendous cooperation out of the Gulf states in numerous respects. You're seeing Japan step up. South Korea is now engaged in, bringing in important military industry to the United States. We're going to be building nuclear submarines with the South Koreans in Philadelphia. I mean, this is just amazing stuff. And meanwhile, Western Europe just keeps falling further behind. So I wanted to ask you about that too, Matt. I mean, Germany shut down its nuclear plants. They made themselves dependent on Russian gas. The British have done everything in their power to ban fracking, to ban any further North Sea oil development. These guys are all dependent on all the wrong people, except for defense, where they're dependent on us. And we're getting a little fed up with it. What do you see as the energy picture for Europe once this all settles
I don't
out?
think it's gonna settle out in countries like the UK or Germany. I think they're committed to their Green New Deal insanity. And so for us, it's great because we get to export a lot of oil and natural gas to them. I think ultimately they'll completely wean themselves off of Russian gas, or they won't. They'll still be beholden to Putin and his tyranny. Either way, I think it works out well for us. We're talking about increasing USA oil and gas production. It's not just in the typical basins that we know of, but it's also restoring the Gulf of America. I don't know if you're aware of this, but right now I'm standing on the banks of the mighty Mississippi River, and last year in this state of Louisiana, my friend Governor Jeff Landry, who is the special envoy to Greenland, of course, he signed legislation that State Representative Jacob Landry passed to end legacy lawsuits against oil and gas companies. And we have seen operators coming back to the Gulf of America and starting to invest more. And so oil production here will rise. And with President Trump, J.D. Vance making these trade agreements around the world, ultimately, countries like the UK and Germany are going to say, hey, wait a minute, everybody else is realigning. If we're going to buy it, let's buy it from the U.S.
Yes, absolutely. By the way, we've been talking a lot today about energy, as we should, because we have Matt's fine mind to pick, and that's fantastic. But that's not the only thing happening today. Today is April 15th. It's tax day.
Oh,
My favorite tax professional in the world is Dean Owen at owencpa.com. Dean, tell us what's going on with taxes today.
Well, like we said, is today get your extension. You can get them free. Don't let that slip by. Lots of stuff going on. A couple of tax tips that business owners and retirees need to know about is that if you die with an HSA and it does not go to your spouse, it goes to someone else, it is ordinary income, just like you cashed in an IRA all at once.
Wow.
So that could, if you're going to cash in an IRA, if you're going to pass away with an HSA, you may want to consider leaving that to a grandchild who's in a lower tax bracket. Because, take example, if you leave your son or daughter your HSA, it's worth $100,000. They're in 22% bracket. That's going to throw them up into 34% bracket and cost them about 33% tax on that. So be aware of that. Just one of the things to think about. We're coming into summer, look at volatility, have a Roth strategy in place. If you start to see some volatility, we just did a bunch of Roth conversions when the market came about, and that rebound is coming back in those Roth IRAs and not in the IRAs. So be thinking about that. Be thinking about your capital expenditures this year. Let's have a conversation. Do you want to use more 179 bonus depreciation? How much do you want to use? And again, it's free conversation. The conversation and friendship are free. Jump online, connect with my team, and let us help you disinherit the government and not your kids.
Amen to that. Matt, tell us about your organization and where people can
Thanks,
find
Rod. You can find us online at ogwausa.com. We'd love your support. We'd love for you to join OGWA and help us educate more Americans and be more effective on policy. Rod, always an honor to be on with you. Dean, I think the world of you. Always an honor to be on with you as well. Thank y'all for letting me join y'all today.
Rod?
Well, it's a joy to have you. And of course, I'm Rod Martin. I am founder and CEO of Martin Capital. I was one of the early guys at PayPal, of all crazy things. And I write a lot of geopolitical analysis that Fox Business calls absolutely phenomenal at rodmartin.org. So come check us out at rodmartin.org. Tens of thousands of subscribers to our daily long form content, hundreds of thousands of followers on social media. There's a reason. So come see us, and come see us next week on the Business Pulse, brought to you by the Freedom Chamber, an organization you need to support and join. We are so happy that we've made it to our 40th episode and that you've been here with us from the first in many cases. And if you're a newcomer, we love you too. And maybe you'll be here for the 50th and the 100th. But this has been the Business Pulse, brought to you by the Freedom Chamber, and we'll see you next week.
Healthcare costs are crushing America's small businesses. Premiums have risen over 240% in the last decade, forcing companies to choose between growth and healthcare coverage. The Freedom Chamber, found online at freedomchamber.net, has a better solution: the Guardianship Healthcare Plan. Designed by a doctor who understands that strong care starts with a strong doctor-patient relationship. This plan puts people first while protecting your bottom line. With up to 45% annual premium savings, the Guardianship Plan delivers real care, real savings, and real freedom. Your business, your employees, your health plan needs the Guardianship. The Freedom Chamber Guardianship Plan. Get your quote today. Learn how your business can take control of healthcare. Visit freedomchamber.net, the pro-American business network.